All right, guys, we're going to kick off our next unit by talking about cells. Everywhere that you see this in blue, that means that there's another associated video that goes with it, usually an Amoeba Sisters video. You guys know I really like those. So what I'm going to do is, as we get to it, I'll show you where the video is. I'm not going to play that extra video here in this, but I'm going to strongly encourage you to go and watch that video on your own. You can either stop this one and then go watch it when it comes up on the slide, or you can watch this whole video and then go back and watch them after, whatever you want to do. But for example, this first one right here, cells, is right here. Introduction to cells. Okay. Amoeba Sisters, you can see the name of it right there, the Grand Cell Tour. All right, so I would strongly encourage you to go watch that one on your own. All right, so anyway, cell theory. All right, this is what cell theory is. It states that all living things are made of cells. That's our initial premise, our initial theory. All right, all things are made of cells. All cells come from previously existing cells. All right, so when something is made, it came from something that existed before that. All right. And then finally, cells are the basic building blocks of life. All right, we study cells with the background understanding that these three things are kind of the guiding principles of what we're doing. All right, how do we classify cells? We have two basic types. Right? We have what's called a prokaryotic cell. All right. Some examples of a prokaryotic, or an example, would be Monera cells, and I use the example of the bacteria. If you remember from back at the beginning of the year, the only example I gave you for Monera was bacteria. Right? And pro, think of rhymes with no. Okay? It lacks a nucleus. It lacks a true nucleus. There's no nucleus in those bacteria cells. Okay, no. Pro means no nucleus. All right. The other type is called eukaryotic. Okay? Eukaryotic. Animal cells, plant cells, fungi cells, and protocells. The other four big kingdoms are all eukaryotic. And that means that they have a nucleus. Just like you rhymed pro with no, for prokaryotic means no nucleus, eukaryotic rhyme you with true. Eukaryotic organisms have a true nucleus. U is true. Or you can think it's true that they have a nucleus. All right? Pro, no nucleus. Eu, true, it has a nucleus. All right? All right, this is a couple examples. The one on the left is a prokaryotic cell. That would be a bacteria. Okay, if you look, you're looking in here, there's no nucleus in here that we have to deal with. All right. But if you look here in the eukaryotic, we've got a nucleus right there. This happens to be an example of an animal cell. Okay, it has a nucleus. All right. All right, levels of cellular organization. And once again, you see that I've got cellular organization in blue, all right, which means that there is another video, and this is the one right here. It's called Biological Levels in Biology, the World Tour. Again, if you want to stop and find it and watch it now, great. Or if you want to just wait till the end and watch all the extras on your own at the end, that's fine too. But again, I would strongly encourage you to watch this. These are really very well-made videos that help explain kind of some of the background and things that we're dealing with. All right. All right. So the most basic level, or the starting of our levels, is something called the organelle. All right. The suffix L, E-L-L-E, means kind of small. All right. So these are structures that have specific functions within the cell. And we're going to talk about a bunch of different organelles when all is said and done. One step above the organelle is the cell. The cell contains all the organelles. All right? All the organelles are within a cell. Now, cells, the basic unit of all living things, are contained inside tissues. Okay? A tissue is a specialized group of cells. Okay? They work together to form a working function. They process things together. They work together as a group. Mhm. When you combine tissues together, they create what's called an organ. Right? Your liver, your kidney, whatever. Okay, those are an organ is a group of tissues combined together to perform a certain life process. All right, like your lungs are for breathing, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, all your organs together are what's known as an organ system. Right, it's a bunch of organs that work together to keep you alive. And then you yourself are the organism made up of all those organ systems. Okay, so if we start at the top now and work at the top of the structure, okay, the organism is the most complex structure. And then as we break it down a little bit, organisms are broken down into organ systems. Organ systems are broken down into individual organs. Organs are broken down into tissues, tissues into cells, and then within the cells are the organelles. So these guys up here are the smallest unit we're dealing with. And this is the biggest unit down here, the organism. All right? All right, some functions of some different organelles. I'm going to give you just a little idea of some of the different organelles that we deal with in here. All right? Cell wall. Outside layer of a cell. Provides protection, structure, and support to a cell. In plants, it's made of cellulose. All right? We only find the cell wall in plant cells or bacteria cells. All right, remember, plant is eukaryotic, bacteria is prokaryotic. Right? You're not going to get a cell wall in an animal cell. Right? It doesn't happen. The cell membrane, also known as the plasma membrane, it controls what goes in and out of a cell. It's kind of like a gate. It lets some things in, lets some things out, doesn't let some things in, doesn't let some things out. Okay? It's made of a double layer of fat, a lipid bilayer. Lipid means fat, bi means two. So we've got a double layer of fat. Then running all through it are these little channels of proteins. I kind of think of it sometimes maybe as almost like a sandwich. You got this fat layer right here, and then you've got these protein layers, almost like chunky peanut butter, running through the middle of it. All right. And there's these little chains of carbohydrates that stick off of it. All right. This is the cross section of that outer layer right there. All right. This is kind of a detailed view of what the cell membrane would look like. We find cell membranes in plant, animal, and bacteria cells. Okay, remember, the animal and the bacteria also had a cell wall. Let me correct myself. The plant and bacteria also had a cell wall. The animal cell does not have a cell wall. I'm going to say that again. The animal cell does not have a cell wall. Okay? All right, the nucleus. That's what holds the genetic information, the stuff that's used to give things their traits, things that are passed on to next generations of offspring. Okay? It's separated from what's called the cytoplasm by a membrane. Okay, that membrane that goes around the nucleus is called the nuclear envelope. Okay, it's kind of like the cell membrane, but this one's around the nucleus. All right. We're going to talk about cytoplasm too, but the cytoplasm is like that jelly little substance that kind of fills the cell that everything sits in. All right. The nucleus is found in plant cells and in animal cells. Okay. Remember, these are eukaryotic cells. They have a nucleus. Bacteria do not have a nucleus. Cytoplasm. It's a jelly-like material inside the cell. It gives the cell shape, it helps structure the cell, and it helps to move things around within the cell. All right. We find cytoplasm in plant, animal, and bacteria cells. Once again, a little video on organelle functions. Okay. This one's on cellular respiration. Okay, talks about the mitochondria. All right, so this is a very, very important one. I would strongly encourage you guys to watch this. Okay. All right, so ribosomes. They make proteins from amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. We put a bunch of amino acids together and we get a protein. Protein is used in your body to build muscle, things like that. Okay? They can be free floating in the cytoplasm, or they can be attached to something called the ER, the endoplasmic reticulum. All right? If you look at this picture, this weird shaped looking thing, this is the endoplasmic reticulum, and all these little dots, those are the ribosomes that sit on the ER. Okay? They are responsible for building protein in the body. We find ribosomes in plant, animal, and in bacteria cells. All right, there's another video on organelle functions. This one is on protein synthesis. Another, again, very important, okay? Protein synthesis and the lean, mean ribosome machine. Very, very good video to watch. Okay? All right, mitochondria perform cellular respiration to turn nutrients into usable energy. That energy is something we call ATP. Stands for adenosine triphosphate. It's energy. All right. Sometimes you might have heard the mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. Right. That just means that's where respiration occurs. That's where energy is created. Energy for the body to do things. We find mitochondria in the plant, animal, and bacteria cells. All right, and our last organelle for now is the chloroplast. Chloroplasts get energy from the sun, and they convert it into energy that the plant can use. Okay? You've heard of photosynthesis. All right? Prefix photo meaning light, synthesis means to make something. What are we making? We're making energy using light. Plants can make their own energy, their own food from the light from the sun. Chloroplasts are found in plant cells, and we also find them in algae. The material in the chloroplast is called chlorophyll. You may have heard of that. That's what gives the plants their green color.